The Paper Mario series has had its fair share of criticism over the years, and for good reason. The newer entries stripped away many of the elements that made the older titles so revered, and also struggled to present meaningful gameplay concepts. Origami King, however, seemed different from the moment of its initial conception. While it isn't entirely a return to form, it's a good step that introduces many welcome changes. When the Mushroom Kingdom is invaded by the Origami King, all of Bowser's minions are transformed into mindless, compliant, folded soldiers, and the entire Toad population is banished and hidden across the kingdom. Peach's castle is laid to siege, and it's up to Mario, with the help of the Origami Princess Olivia, to set out on a journey and sever 5 streamers to liberate it. The following journey is one that brings our protagonists through unique and creatively inspired locales that are only accented by the surprising and genuinely interesting story beats that happen within them. I was always looking forward to seeing what happened next, and just when I thought the story had reached a high point, it managed to one-up itself in the next chapter. Not to mention, the story contained some of the more dark and emotionally heart-wrenching themes I've ever seen from a Paper Mario game, let alone Mario game. It doesn't exactly match the efforts of a game like The Thousand Year Door, but it's great to know that the writers are thinking along those lines and more towards that type of direction. Rather than exploring areas that fall in line with typical RPG tropes, Origami King spices things up by introducing ideas that have definitely been used before, but feature uncommon tourist-inspired twists. Like a ninja TV studio surrounded by a gorgeous autumn mountain, or perhaps an expansive nighttime desert with a bustling party city at the center. While playing through these areas, I was always reminded of the wonderful art style and impressive graphical capabilities. The color palette on display is exceptionally well done and makes areas pop to life. On top of that, the paper moniker of the title has never been more appropriate, as everything, and I mean everything, is made out of paper and origami. That, combined with the game's bright art style, created a unique aesthetic that was a constant joy to stare at and a new high for the Paper Mario series. Speaking of constant joy and new highs, the game's general sense of presentation achieves a similar effect. Origami King isn't afraid to not take itself seriously, and this is perhaps one of the best parts about it. When I say I was chuckling throughout my entire playthrough, I genuinely mean that. A large part of the exploration experience here involves finding the toads that have been hidden, and getting to hear what they say upon finding them is justification enough for the search. Every toad you find has something hilarious to say, whether it be a witty remark, sarcasm, self-awareness, or even a pun. And it's not just the toads bringing on the comedic effect, as most NPC characters, including the main ones, have hilarious things to say as well. The writing team did a phenomenal job creating a game where reading dialogue actually kept me engaged the entire way through. And the music team pulled off a feat that is equal in terms of engagement. The OST is consistently impressive and features a wide array of styles and genres. Most of the battle themes, especially the boss ones, exude high energy and ultimately do a great job at matching the pacing of the actual combat, thanks to complex and soaring melodies. I was particularly surprised at just how much the music drew influence from metal, and at some points I could even compare tracks to those of my favorite bands. There are also area variations of the standard battle themes that do a great job of keeping a consistent feel throughout the story. Aside from combat music, the general overworld and town music was always entertaining to listen to, and always felt very appropriate for each setting. It's clear that presentation-wise, Origami King knocks it out of the park. But does the general moment-to-moment gameplay hold up as well? Given the recent history of Paper Mario, I'm surprised to say that yes, it does. There are many new gameplay mechanics that allow Mario to interact with the paper world around him, including the confetti bag and the 1000-fold arms. When the Origami King invaded, multiple parts of the world were torn away, creating not-so-bottomless holes. Using the confetti bag, Mario can fill in these holes to gain coins and also help solve puzzles. The confetti bag will run out though, so by exploring and doing as much as possible, you can ensure that it stays full. The 1000-fold arms has a similar application in puzzle solving, using motion-controlled gyro arms to tear walls away and effectively move parts of the world around. They have important uses in battle as well, but more on that in a bit. Typically, the areas in which you explore are much larger and densely packed with secrets. As you play, you'll constantly be filling in holes with a confetti bag, finding collectibles, battling folded soldiers, and searching for the hidden toads, which by the way are literally everywhere. There were moments where I accidentally found them, and from that moment on, I made sure to search every nook and cranny for these guys. Due to the dense nature of these areas, playing through as a completionist or someone who likes collectathon-style games is an absolute blast. You really have to focus on searching and interacting with everything possible in order to collect all the goodies. And the game aids you by including items that make the search easier, such as alerts that will make a sound when you're close to the toads, treasures, or hidden blocks, and radars that will cause the controller to rumble as you get close to these hidden collectibles. You absolutely don't have to use these items, but it's good to know that they're there. If you're not in the mood for collecting, fear not, because you can always come back to areas thanks to the warp pipes and the brilliant fax traveling. Fax isn't the only way to travel though, as there are some particularly large and open areas that allow travel by vehicle, such as the desert and ocean. These segments help change the pace of the regular exploration and definitely increased my excitement as the player. Another way the game changes pace is by including partner characters for the individual areas. These aren't the type of characters that will accompany you through the entire game, but rather just specific segments of it. They each have unique abilities that will help you progress, significant story roles, and can even help in battle, though their involvement in that regard is nowhere near as fleshed out as the earlier Paper Mario games. I enjoyed most of these characters and found that they had interesting personalities that added to the already intriguing storyline. In addition to open explorable areas, you'll also find dungeons with puzzle-solving components and very unique bosses. The puzzle solving here is nothing too difficult, but I have to admit, as the game progressed, they threw in a few head scratchers here and there. And the bosses fall into two categories: Velamentals and everyday office supplies. The Velamentals are ancient spirits that can be harnessed and used in and outside of battle, and the everyday office supplies are, well, everyday office supplies. Just another reason why this game is hilarious and has the best writing. The combat is sure to be a point of contention here, but I came away from Origami King absolutely loving it. Everything revolves around a dial formation that consists of a time puzzle section and a combat section. In the puzzle section, you can move rows of the dial horizontally around the circle or vertically across. The idea is to line up the enemies as symmetrically as possible, typically in a block or lineup formation. Symmetrical lineups are incentivized by an attack boost and a turn increase Mario gains upon doing so. I have to admit that the puzzle-solving portion of battle felt very challenging in the most fun way possible. A lot of the time, especially in the late game, I would panic thanks to the timer and not be able to solve the puzzles. So I was met with a huge sense of reward when I actually could. And thankfully, if a puzzle is too much for you, you can call on the audience, which consists entirely of the toads you saved, to help you out. Depending on how many coins you want to spend, the toads will solve the puzzle for you and even throw some healing consumables your way. Some may consider this cheating, but I just found it to be a mindful accessibility option thrown in by Nintendo to make sure everyone can have fun. And in general, I feel Origami King excels at difficulty options, but I'll get to that soon. Continuing on with the combat segment of battles, Mario can attack in a few ways, with a hammer that deals close-range AoE damage, with the boots for a vertical line of damage, and the hurl hammer, which also deals damage in a straight line. In addition to these, various weapons can be bought in the shop, and several damage tiers of basic hammer, boots, and hurl hammer can be purchased as well. When attacking, there is a degree of rhythmic timing involved too, as pressing A at just the right time will increase the damage Mario outputs. And likewise, when it's the enemy's turn to attack, Mario can press A at the right time to block and decrease the damage he takes. That's the basic look at a normal battle, but when it comes to the boss encounters, everything you know about this system and its entire purpose changes. Rather than lining enemies up as symmetrically as possible for max damage, it now becomes about creating a path to attack the boss. And this is done by filling the movable segments of the dial with directional arrows that Mario will follow. The segments will be filled with all kinds of other goodies as well, like envelopes that give hints about the boss's weakness, treasure chests that can spawn coins, health, and critical on pads for defeating the boss, attack pads for attacking, and ground pads for Velamental abilities and the 1000-fold arms, which I both mentioned earlier. When these are activated with the on pads and then stepped on, Olivia can use the Velamental power to transform into them and use their power against the boss. And Mario can use his 1000-fold arms for a motion control barrage that often ends the fight in a climactic way. Both of these are really cool and add a serious sense of scale to the fights. The boss fights are quite challenging, take a long time to beat, and often feel like puzzles to solve in their own right, because in addition to Mario's own abilities, every new boss will often throw out new obstacles that you'll have to learn to deal with in the most effective way. I found these boss encounters took the difficulty of the regular dial fights and turned it up to a 10. I'm a big fan of this combat system and was seriously impressed how developer Intelligent Systems managed to expand upon the concept so much. In fact, this is the one feature of the game that makes me want to come back and replay the most. These turn-based battles aren't the only ones you'll be taking part in, however, as there are also more action-oriented fights with the Paper Machos. Oh god. These guys are large versions of the standard folded soldiers that will test your dodging and hammer abilities. They're initially pretty terrifying, but as the game progresses, they become pushovers, with the exception of a few types that actually gave me trouble here and there. Now, a major issue with modern Paper Mario is the incentive to actually have battles. Previous titles have stripped away EXP, making it almost seem pointless. And while EXP does not make a return in Origami King, and the main reward for completing battles, filling holes, and finding toads is only coins, I don't think all hope is lost. Like I said earlier, the battle system can be hard, and you're going to want to do as much as possible to make it go your way. All of the healing consumables, better weapons, and stat increasing accessories are bought from the shops with coins, so that right there is enough incentive for me. Considering that in most games, receiving EXP allows you to progress further, I would argue that collecting coins and buying better gear serves the same purpose. But one might argue that using these items makes the game too easy. I would disagree with that because I had the best items on as soon as I could get them and still had a decent challenge. It is also entirely player choice whether or not you buy the stronger weapons and healing consumables, and whether or not you equip the best accessories. That alone is a great difficulty setting in its own right and pretty commendable on Nintendo's part. With that said, I had a huge excess of coins at the end of my file, and also got to the point where I really didn't need to use them to buy things anymore because I was just naturally finding items from exploring. I imagine I would have a different experience though if I chose to turn off the best accessories. So there may not be massive incentive to complete battles in this game, and you definitely don't have to. But I believe Nintendo did a great job at creating a fluid sense of difficulty here with a good amount of player choice and accessibility as well. And if all else fails, the dial battles are just plain fun in their own right. I enjoy experiencing them regardless of the reward. I ultimately thought Origami King was a charming yet epic adventure with a serious knack for comedic effect. It has some of the best dialogue I've read in any game, period, and due to the wonderful presentation, music, and visuals, it was a sensory joy to play through. The feelings of wonder and curiosity I felt as I explored were some of the best a Paper Mario game has ever given me, and the incredibly fresh new combat system is a welcome addition in my books. With all these things considered, I'm wholeheartedly looking forward to whatever Paper Mario does next, and I feel an exciting renewed faith in the series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to click like and subscribe for more gaming related content such as reviews and let's plays. Until the next video, I've been Aiden, and I hope you guys have a great one. Bye bye.